Well, welcome, Monica. It is so great to have you on the show today. I am really looking forward to this conversation. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today. My name is Monica Zerwas. I am a mama to four girls. Right now, they are 3, 5, 7, 9. And
Oh,
we're like in
boy.
that season where it's easy to say and then it changes. My husband is Brandon. We've been married going on 13 years, and we both homeschool our girls in the mornings together. And we have every meal together around the table. And then we are also a husband and wife real estate group. And so we buy and sell houses at night and on the weekends and raise our babies during the day together. Yeah, I'm really passionate about the topics that we're covering today and just excited to dive in.
Yeah, that's great. So, four girls. Were you hoping for a boy at some point, or did you just at the end, you're like, just give me another girl?
Oh my gosh. At the beginning, I thought I knew I was going to have three boys and a baby girl.
Oh,
Yeah, when I had a girl first, I was totally taken back. And then it was so fun. And then when we had the second, we wanted all girls. I was just, you have it kind of figured out to whatever
mm-hmm,
degree that means. And
mm-hmm.
yeah, we loved it. And my husband is the ultimate girl dad. He was made for it. And so it's just sweet to have this little girl gang running around.
That is so precious. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, were you raised a Christian, Monica?
Was raised in a my dad was Catholic, my mom was Southern Baptist. We didn't have, I don't even think we had a Bible in our home. It was more so you go to church because mom and dad were taking you. My dad went to Catholic church, my mom never came. And so we were raised in that. So it was more do the right thing, moralistic deism. So it wasn't until I met my husband that he was raised Church of Christ, I was raised Catholic, and a lot of legalism, a lot of rules. And I'm a type A rule follower, perfectionist. That's my fight or bend. And yeah, so it took us dating and just finding that together and realizing, wait, there's more to this. There's a relationship. So we really found a relationship with Christ together in our 20s.
That's beautiful. And then you felt called to homeschool, obviously. Have you homeschooled the whole time?
We have, but that was not the plan. That is 100% God. When I met my husband, our first date, I asked him, are you okay with raising children and me being the breadwinner? Because I'm an independent woman and I have a ladder to climb and goals to achieve. And I wasn't made to raise kids. And so that was not always the plan. The Lord has turned everything on his heads in the best way possible. And it's just part of our story that he has brought us along.
Uh,
But
my goodness.
once we realized, yeah, I mean, it was toddlerhood that we were exposed to homeschooling and really started to get the nudge to go that direction.
You know, I can't get over how similar our stories are. Actually, I came out of the Catholic Church. I shouldn't say came out of the Catholic Church has some great things, but we also came to a personal relationship with Jesus. And through that process, I was working, had that same kind of independent mentality, and God called me to homeschool. So
Wow.
yeah, but I didn't do it forever. I at one point just finally felt like the season had ended, but I know the gift that you've been given. And so, I mean, actually that was one of the things I wanted to ask you about is just leaving the corporate world to be home with your girls. So what you're telling me is that it was really just the Lord and he just changed you completely as you leaned into him and walked in obedience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really was. I mean, my gosh, like I said, I was on the way to achieving. I had a master's degree. I was president of this awards. I did everything. I was the achiever to get the job, to get the house, to chase the world. I mean, I was chasing success, chasing the world. I got in to that lie
Hmm.
that we fight against so big now, and our eyes are just have been opened. And it was the Lord just being so delicate, because if he would have shown up to me and been, you're going to quit your job and you're going to homeschool your kids, I would have been like, you don't know me. Like,
You'd be like, run away. I'm running
Yeah,
away.
exactly. And so he was so sweet and delicate, and it was just like onion layers just being slowly removed and our eyes slowly being opened. And it really was when we started reading. I mean, I remember us buying our first Bibles together and reading these study Bibles as husband and wife and just diving in. And we were so messy. I mean, our road before that and partying and so much sin. And it was just so sweet. Like, oh wait, we shouldn't be doing that, I guess. And not in a legalistic way, but it's not honoring. Like it's living one foot in, one foot out. And so it was doing Bible studies for the first time in my life, doing book studies for the first time in my, like being introduced to these women ahead, Sally Clarkson and Voskamp, like these women, their work and the road they paved were just opening my eyes. The church we belong to here, we started listening to this pastor when we were living in Austin, and we're in Dallas now. We listened to his teaching from afar and just sound biblical teaching. All of these things weaved together. And then us having our first baby, and it wasn't even having her. Most people say you have your baby and you want to stay home. And I still didn't want to stay home. I was still ready to climb. But it was when we got her nanny, and her nanny was one of our pastor's wives. And she was the first woman I ever prayed with at the front of the church. We'd never done that before. My husband's mom was battling brain cancer. And we went and prayed with her, and it was one of the most powerful moments for us. And later I was in her home doing a book study, one of Sally Clarkson's books, and just learning from this woman. And she ended up being our girl's nanny, Nanny Kate. And I remember thinking when she was like, I want to nanny Tinley. I was like, can you just raise her? Because I think she'd be better off. She was just beautiful and incredible, but she was a homeschool mom. She homeschooled her 3 kids. And then she nannied mine. So we dropped off and picked up to the homeschool family every day for a year. And we were just like, something's different about them. There's something unique. There's something, like, we were just so attracted to this simple life, this slow life. Meanwhile, I'm idolizing busyness, my calendar, success, bonuses, money, the house. But I was really drawn to this. And so it was all of these things kind of coming together. Yeah. And then us deciding over this stretch of time, we wrote down one day how many hours Nanny Kate had Tinley and how much time we had Tinley. Tinley's was my first daughter, and it was almost even. And we realized, it was just such a gut punch of, wait a minute, we have this baby and we just hand off the baby to work the job, to give her the house and the vacation and the toys but I felt like I was losing her in the process. And so I'm handing over my baby to hold on to these things of the world. And there was a quote that I read, and it said, I spent my entire life climbing the ladder only to get to the top and find out it was leaned against the wrong dang wall. And I was like, oh, I don't want that. I can't go, like, we can't go back. And the last component, my husband was working in hospice and home health. He was dealing with death and dying every single day. People on their deathbeds, the last words, and they said over and over, he heard, it goes by fast. I wish I would have had more kids, and I wish I would have worked less. And so we had a choice. Do we listen to these people who've lived their life? They're at the end and they have these wise words, because we're all going to get there. We either do something about it or we don't. And there's no way to make more time. It goes by fast. Everybody says it. So the way to make more time was just to slow time. And that was soaking up and just completely pivoting and living a different life and pursuing being at home.
And it really is biblical. Jesus lived, he did a lot of things, a lot of ministry, and affected a lot of lives, but he did it at a slower pace. He wasn't, rushing around. He was spending time with the Father. He was sitting at the feet, doing all the things that he needed to do to fill his own cup, right? And be able to continue to pour out. And he took the time. And that's really what you're talking about, is being given back that time, because we can't disciple our kids effectively if we don't have time with them. Now, I know it's in a sense, people say, well, it's a luxury to be able to stay home. And there is some truth to that. There are people who don't have, I guess, that choice in a sense, but really let's just jump in now, because if we talk about how we can make those changes in our life, it's a shift of thinking and what we think we need and how we think we need to live has to shift, right? So tell us about that.
I can't tell you the number of times people have said to me, "You're so lucky, you're so fortunate," and in a kind way, and then in an unkind way of you're telling your story and you're projecting this on people who don't have an opportunity to do that. And there are some situations, like a single mom, perhaps, right, who she has to work. Like I understand that, and I'm not talking to her. I'm talking to and my heart is to really challenge those listening that you have this nudge inside of you and this desire inside of you. And at the time, I was making more income than my husband. We had just bought a house, and it was a house on double income. We just bought a car. I had $2,000 in student loans. My husband had credit card debt. Like I mean, we were living this life. And I felt totally stuck because I bought in. And we weren't living above our means. We were saving 401k. We were checking all the boxes, being very responsible.
But you
I
had
felt
committed
stuck.
yourself. You had committed yourself to certain standard of living where you needed that double income.
And so we had to, and what I always say is we traded that all in. We sold the house. I mean, it was pride. It was at a time where and it was keeping up with my friends, my friend group, keeping up with the Joneses. That's what we do as a society. I mean, I traded in a life for a different kind of life, and it took so much sacrifice. I worked for a whole other year, even when we decided this is going to be our path, to pay off the loans, to just be wise. We, again, selling the house was the hardest thing for us.
I
We
bet.
lost money when selling. It wasn't a smart time to sell, but we then lived small to live big. And that's the point of all of it. We go without a lot. I mean, tiny things, tiny luxuries that people just completely take for granted. Like we don't go on fun Target runs. Like we don't buy coffee out and about. We don't go and eat out all the time. There are things that I do spend money on, and I do value. The food we put in our bodies are important, just different things that I do spend my money on. If I buy toys for the girls, it's for a holiday. Like we don't just
Mm-hmm.
buy things. Like we just don't. Clothes, we don't just buy clothes. Like it's such a counterculture way of living. And you have to be okay with giving that up. But it's not easy. But it's also not easy to be stuck in a situation that you so badly want out of. So you just have to choose your heart. And this one was just so much more fruitful. And I know I can always go back and make money. And so we've been riding this entrepreneur wave for 5 years. There's so much more to this story. Layoffs. I mean, we sold the house, we moved into, and we'll kind of get into more of this. It's sometimes we believe that when we listen to the Lord and when we follow and say yes, that it's going to be an easy path. And let me tell you, it's been nothing but that. I mean, it has not been that. It has been roadblock after roadblock, but we know the path we're on is the right one. And so it's just, like you said, it's not buying into the lifestyle that the world says we are all to live. No, we live simple. We just live less, like I said, to live so big.
I think of Luke 12:15, where Jesus says, "Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." And that's what you're living out. You're saying, okay, we don't need this. Culture says the more we have, the happier we'll be. And you and your husband, through the Lord's conviction, recognize the lie in that. And, we, as a society, about a year ago, I read John Mark Comer's book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And in it, he says, shopping is now the number one leisure activity in America. And when you think about that is something we just take that as like, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be, but it's not making us happier.
No.
And so what you're saying is you traded that. Yes, it means some hardships. And it sounds like you probably fought some spiritual battles as well, because you were trying to lean into that lifestyle. And of course, Satan doesn't want that, but you're happier.
Oh my gosh. That book is so good. And I think I've told you, I feel like we could have written it. Everything in that it's all it is. It's happier. It's learning to be content. And I think that's
it.
the hardest thing
Yes.
on this side, of our life is being content, because there's always going to be someone who has more, there's always going to be someone who has less, and it's modeling that for our children, because it's so easy to be a hypocritical mama, and when your kids are at the store and you can't have that, well, but I want it, but I want it. But then we go home and we just go shop on Amazon and buy whatever we want, and when our husband is like, hey, what about the budget? No, I want it. We don't model it at all, but we're trying to
Mm.
raise up these kids to not be greedy, to be grateful, but we aren't, to be content. We aren't. We see what our neighbor has and what Instagram friends have, and we want it. We're jealous. Our life isn't enough. It is constantly, and like you said, we are obviously a broken society, but we are an unhappy, unfulfilled. We are chasing. We are in the comparison game. We are depressed. We are lonely. None of it's satisfying us. And
Mm-mm.
I tell my girls all the time, the only thing we can take to heaven with us are people. So invest in people, invest in relationship. Let's do life together. Let's spend our time and our money pouring into people.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the contentment thing, boy, does that just, bells and whistles go off in my head, because I had to learn that as well. I mean, that is a hard, hard lesson. And I have to say, I fought materialism as a stronghold for many years. But to understand that I think of Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Paul was not talking about anything. He was talking about being content in all circumstances. And he gives us, through his Holy Spirit, we can do that. But we have to lean in with all our heart, and we have to lay that idol at his feet, right?
And it's like you said, it's a constant battle for me, for us. I mean, my husband goes into Home Depot, right? And we need this plant, or what if our yard, or we could spruce this up. I mean, and we are like, one of my passions is design, decorating, making things beautiful, hosting, interiors. Like, that's my art, that's my outlet, my creative. And I'm like, you kind of need money to do that. You need to spend to do that in so many ways. And so it's been this conflicting of like, but that's how he made me to create beautiful things. But how do I do that to honor him and do it wise and steward money well, and to not, but my previous life, I mean, I remember all the way back to the 6th grade. And that's when my materialism started. Truly, it was Tommy Hilfiger days, Abercrombie days, Doc Martin days.
Mm.
And I was obsessed and bought in. I got a job so I could pay for it because my dad wasn't going to. I mean, it ran so deep. And it truly was figuring this out and getting to this point of living a different life. I mean, I was buying a designer handbag, I mean, every other month when I was working my corporate job. And I finally got to the point of I listed them for sale. Like, I don't want it anymore. Like, I don't want my girls to buy into it. I just don't want it anymore. And we'll get into a little bit of this maybe, but we were living in Houston, and Hurricane Harvey came. And this is just kind of part of the story of my materialism and being rid of it.
Mm.
But we sold the house. We moved into a rental, and everything was in boxes. It was a month after moving in, and Hurricane Harvey came. And we were in Austin that weekend, so we weren't there to get our special belongings, the things you always, if there was a fire, what would you grab, right? We weren't there to do any of that. And in one day, 100% of our material possessions were gone. We didn't have flood
My
insurance. We didn't
gosh.
have there was nothing. And we were on this path of going to one income. And I was pregnant with my second baby, was due in a month. We didn't have hand-me-downs for baby number 2. We had nothing. My husband sat there and he said, right when this happened, we were standing in front of the house, just looking at all of our things, just mold, cover, I mean, just awful. And he said, God loves us so much. He took away our stuff. And at the time, I wanted to hurt him when he said that. I was like, not now. It's too soon. But it was the most beautiful thing that he could have said, because none of it matters. And so it was really me. I mean, I felt like the Lord, like he needed to show me this stuff, Monica. It doesn't matter. It's not going to ever be enough. I'm enough. I am the daily bread. I am that, like, it's me. I'm all everything you need. And it took that for us. And again, it still like rears its ugly face. Like, I still love these beautiful things and see these beautiful things. And it's truly in the desire to model for my girls honey, I know I see that and want it too, but it's just, let's wait. Let's not be the instant gratification. Let's put it on a list if you want to spend your piggy bank money, like having these tangible things to teach them. And it's just so important. It's such an important work.
Yeah, I mean, I think about just that you're talking about delayed gratification and what a
Yes.
incredible thing that is to teach your girls. So there is so much in this. And I cannot get over the fact that God allowed that hurricane to take everything you needed, I mean, everything you had that
Yeah.
you thought you needed and
Yeah.
show you didn't need it, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then I'm sure he came along and provided, right? People helped and you
Oh
were
my God.
provided for and encouraged by and you saw so much victory in that. So, in
There
his
was
faithfulness.
Yeah, there was so much through. I mean, our pastor here talks about all the time, there are good people who aren't saved, right? There are generous people who aren't saved. It's the saved, the differentiator is suffering. And
Mm.
as believers, we suffer well. That's how we set ourselves apart. That's how we stand, different. And as we suffer well and endure well, and it's a hard thing, but it is, like I said, it's just worthy work. And seeing him through all of that, using other people to come alongside us and just be the hands and feet. I mean, there were such specific prayers and I mean, answering immediately and somebody just praying over us in a line at Walmart. I mean,
Mm.
just different things that because of this hurricane, we just saw his goodness and knew, like, you see us, you're working, and we trust you.
And you were able to just keep walking that he'd already called you to, making
Yeah.
these changes, and you were able to. It's so cool how God does that, isn't it? I just love that so much. And as part of your simplicity, well, first, let's talk about, I know you already said with the girls, how you're discipling them through these boundaries on spending. What do you do with the grandparents? How do you get them on board with that?
So it's such a funny question. It's been a sweet help through the season of trying to rebuild from Hurricane Harvey. Their grandma, my husband's now stepmom, she would help and buy them for Christmas or for their birthday. It would be their clothes and take them shopping for clothes. And it would be a need, which is really sweet and great. Now, it was Gigi and it's excess for sure. But it was definitely filled such a need in those seasons. And I am very it's hard. I'm very particular in I want like quality over quantity. And I tell them that all the time.
Mm,
I want
mm,
heirloom. I want something that can, maybe be passed down if there's not a hurricane for them.
mm-hmm.
It is just, I want less for them so they can see any homeschool family, any homeschool mom, I think has probably told this story or made sure their kids have heard the Little House on the Prairie Christmas story.
My favorite. I grew up watching
Yes.
that. I
Yeah,
just
and I'm
dated
like,
myself.
that Mary and Laura got $1 and one peppermint stick for Christmas, right? But it is truly, we always joke about that in our homeschool group. Like, but we have the power to, like, is their normal. And Tinley's first Christmas, I easily spent $1,000. She was 2 months old.
Mm.
I easily spent $1,000 on her. Her first birthday, one of our friends came in and was like, is Texas Monthly coming to this birthday party? What is this? The first birthday was over the top insane. And this was the before. And now I'm like, no, we have to start over, like back to the drawing board. And they may get 2 or 3 gifts. Like it's these little things. And so it's you asked about the grandparents. And it is asking them and just reminding them of how we're wanting to teach and train the girls and that it's so important. And there have been times where they want the excitement and they want the reaction from the girls. But I have to remind them that's going to wear off and be in the trash in a couple of days. I would so much rather, like, let's get them a zoo membership. Let's get them a membership to the Science Museum. And so we've really leaned to experiences from grandparents. We did Great Wolf Lodge this year for Christmas for the girls. And so it's having these memories and the girls know that and they prefer that because when the toy breaks, when they get so much stuff from like a birthday party, we show them, when was the last time you played with those toys? Like, when was the last time you pulled that out? Don't you think it was a lot? Like, do you have time to play with all these things? Like, don't you get bored with them? And so we're very realistic and logical in teaching them. Like, we don't sugarcoat things. the only time our girls step foot in a store is, I mean, if we truly, mom and dad are not able to, like, one of them keep them, it's an emergency. We have to run in and grab, an orange for a recipe or something. We don't go to toy stores. My girls don't go to Target. They don't see the toy section. It's torture for them. It's like us going to Pinterest, and we get
Right.
jealous, we get envious, we get angry. And so, yeah, it's just doing those simple things that really help to bring that all together.
You made me think of, again, John Mark Comer in the book when he talks about recognizing advertising as propaganda. And
100%.
I think that's a key thing we got to teach our kids too, is they're trying to manipulate you. Don't
Yeah.
let it happen, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we can be countercultural. We need to be countercultural. You're talking about Christians suffering well. Well, it's
Yeah.
also having joy and contentment when we don't have everything, and I just, this is such good stuff. Okay. So as we're starting to wind down, I want to know about your decision. So you have made, I guess, I don't know how many years ago it was, but you made a decision to stop wearing makeup as part of this whole process. And I want to hear about that because that's just such a beautiful self-acceptance. So tell us
Yes.
about that.
Yes. So it's been 7 years. Well, in
Okay.
March, it was 7 years, which is crazy to think it's been that long. And it really started with my husband just being sweet and just confirming my beauty as I am. And like, you don't need that. He didn't care if I put on make, it wasn't a here nor there. There was really, but he just wanted me to feel beautiful and confident how I was. And so he kind of planted the seed initially, but I was, no, I need it. Like, this is what women do. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
what society does. My mom growing up every day, I have to put on my face before I leave the house. She wouldn't leave the house. And my grandmother, I remember her saying, you need to like get dressed for your husband. You need to look well for him. Meanwhile, my husband's like, no, babe, like, you're beautiful. You don't need it. Like, why do you put that on? So it wasn't until my oldest was 2 years old. My first babe was 2 years old. She was very verbal. And I was putting on my makeup in front of her, and she came in the bathroom and she just simply said the words, Mama, why do you put that stuff on your face? And I was tripping over my words. I mean, I was trying to come up with something to say, and all the things that came into my head were, it's just what we do. Women wear makeup. It makes me feel more confident. Well, it makes me feel beautiful. Well, it's fun. It's not fun. I hated doing it. I mean, I mean, I could not come up with a reason that I was okay with saying to her, because the moment I say, it makes me feel confident, it makes me feel awake, it makes me feel, I want to feel confident, it makes me feel beautiful. I want to be beautiful. And it's no, like, and so I immediately just was, I mean, it stuck with, and I probably just changed the subject and made her go along her way, but I didn't move on. It stuck with me, and I really had to sit and think, wait a minute, why do I do this thing called makeup? Why do we do this? And I didn't enjoy it. And I know they're makeup artists and it's an art for some. And I love that that's amazing for them. It wasn't for me. It was not fun. I dreaded getting ready and about it. And we spend so much money, so much time
Yes.
changing who we are. And some women, because I've talked about this online and with friends, and some women will, well, I don't have a good complexion, or I have blemishes, and I have wrinkles, or I just don't look awake. And what about your husband? What does he do about that? Why is it that men, and this, I love my husband and I love men. This isn't a men thing, but why is it that women are expected to cover up flaws, blemishes,
Uh-huh.
but men aren't? Like, why do we have to get fancy for an event, but they don't? I mean, it just is. So when you just sit and really take the pride down and think about it, it's interesting to think, why do we do the things we do? And it's just been this, why do we drink alcohol? Why do we feel like we have to, why are we obsessed with coffee? Like, we just quit coffee, we quit alcohol. I mean, it's just these things. And I'm not saying any of these things are inherently bad, but it's a personal, right? For each person,
Yes.
it has to be a personal conviction. And for us, it's been, we're just doing it because it's what you do. And it doesn't make any sense. And I want my girls to see and to know, because the last thing I want them to do is say, I need this to be beautiful, and I want to look like her or her. And when we look at these unmade up tiny faces in front of us, we see beauty. But when we look in the mirror, and our mama, our daddy saw that, but we don't see that in ourselves. But we've completely just been morphed. And my husband always says it's like I win like cavemen, like in other cultures, third world, whatever, where they haven't been exposed to the advertising and the media and the manipulation of the beauty industry. What do they think is beautiful?
Yeah,
There are tribes where women have no hair and they're beautiful,
that's
or they
right.
have, just there are so many different. So it's just this interesting. Why do we do the things we do? And I think it's worthy and worth it to sit back and ask those questions and to dig. And if you feel the nudge, if you think that you don't have a stronghold, I always say try to give it up. And if that's a struggle, you probably need to give it up, and maybe not forever, but there's something there that has a hold on you. And it has been the neatest experience, and everyone around me has it on. My girls, they see every family member of mine wears makeup. My homeschool crew, most of them don't, which is really neat for them to see other women that can feel confident and good. And then sometimes they do for an event. They want to get fancy is kind of the verbiage they use, which is okay and fine. I think, like I said, it's a personal conviction, but it's been so fun to have 4 little girls watch mama go out and confident. Even if I have blemishes, because I do, I'm like, after my 4th baby, I have crazy rosacea. I'm like, really? Like I quit makeup and this is what happens now. But it's just been so sweet and a good opener to have conversations about, babe, why do you want to do that? Is it because your friend at church maybe did that? Or why do you want that outfit or that bow now? Or just to have those open dialogues with your kids to really understand, be who you are, don't follow, like, and be confident in who God made you to be, because you were just
Absolutely.
fearful, perfect.
So good. So thought provoking. I love the questions that you're asking and presenting to us, and really challenging. So thank you so much for sharing all these great insights. You're very wise, and I am just thrilled to have met you. So
Thank
God
you so much.
bless.
Thank you. This has been great.